Hi, everybody. I'm Shauna. This is Real Talk powered by CMD. And I'm so excited to have today Sarah Baumgartner, Deputy Director of Athletics for Rutgers University. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh my gosh, Sean, this is so fun. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here and look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, it's so funny. We were just talking about identity stuff and I gave your title, but you're so much more than that.
I
You're
hope so. I'm trying.
exactly a mom, a wife, you've been in athletics. So give us an idea of your evolution and how you came to have this seat in life that you have today.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing linear about these paths, but, definitely have been in sports all my life and was a student athlete at Illinois, played 4 years as a in softball. Then I stayed on, got my master's in sports administration, and found that my love of sports could marry into college athletics. I think as athletes, we don't always get that there's like this behind the scenes, there's donors, there's support. And so for me, it was this great marriage of like what I thought would be sales and corporate America, that I could do that and have that relationship with collegiate sports. So ended up taking my first job at the University of Missouri when I was 23, and really cut my teeth in both fundraising. That's kind of my love, my passion, my craft. And then success, opportunity, luck allowed me the opportunity to kind of grow and get promoted into leadership. And so I would tell you that my passion is just as much about leading others and as it is about fundraising now. And and then so all of that combined to lead me to this chance at Rutgers. I got here about probably almost 8 years now, to come be the chief fundraising officer to help kind of grow the athletic department. And then I got the deputy AD job about 5 years ago. And so, my days are all about leading others and problem solving. And but I'm passionate and I have a fire about it. And it's in sports, so it's pretty awesome. But yeah, so that's kind of me, I guess, in a quick nutshell.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we were talking earlier about identity as you had these shifts through your life, and was there any shifts that were particularly difficult for you? Like, I remember I was saying to you when I had different shifts in my professional career, or even when I stepped out from playing athletics, in college to working. I know I had some, I call them identity crises along the way. And I'm just curious if there's any of those moments that you had and what got you through.
Yeah, I think there's two that I think about. First one was when I was 26 and I got my first managerial job. And I was probably the youngest in the office. I was one of like two females. And so both age and being a female probably presented not a challenge, but it was definitely it wasn't easy. And I remember my boss at the time said, this will be the hardest leadership job you're going to have, because you're inheriting people who think that they should have your job, think you shouldn't have the job, and are older than you and think they can, do it better, and et cetera. And it was definitely not easy. I learned a lot in that time, things that I would go back and say, I would never do that again. Like, promoting somebody who probably should have been let go, but I thought by giving that person more money and title, that would make them happy versus,
Mhm.
the fact that they didn't have the job that I had. So I would tell you that was a market moment, because I realized that leadership wasn't about being liked. It was about being respected and about making the tough decisions and
Yeah.
being okay with that. And that, for me, I'm someone who likes to please. I like to make people feel good and feel happy. And leadership isn't always that, but it doesn't make you a bad leader. It makes you just probably a better leader. So 26 years old, that was a lesson learned. And then probably as I've come into my own the past 5 years, I became a mom 3 years ago. Being out and being in the gay community and recognizing that I'm a strong woman, but I'm married to another woman. And just what does that represent? What does that mean? How do I speak about it? How do I represent that to our student athletes, and how do I
Yeah.
represent that to our community and to our donors of, all walks of life? And I think for a lot of years, I didn't necessarily tell that story so transparently and so authentically.
Yeah.
But I feel like as I look at the like last 5 years, I feel like I've truly owned and celebrated that this is the makeup of me, right? And
Yeah.
what I bring to the table, my whole self,
Yeah.
is my very best self. And so really just embracing that. And it's crazy because I think I've been in like these leadership roles, helping others grow, but have I been truly presenting my full self, right? To let them grow. And because I would want somebody to bring to me like all of them, right? I want
Yeah.
everything about them, and never have them feel hesitant about something that they wouldn't, feel as normal or the same as everybody else. So I'd say like, and there's not like an age or a time. It's just the past 5 years of being like, this is who I am. And I'm so proud of it and so happy
Uh,
to be it. And just,
yeah.
leaning into that, I guess, is important.
Yeah, that is, it literally gives me goosebumps. And partly I say because, you and I on the first time that we met, I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. And I was thinking, oh, it's her energy. And then as we were talking more during the call, two things that stood out to me were how present you were. You were literally, you gave me this feeling that whatever we were talking about, you were 100% there. And the other thing I thought about was, and it's so funny that you just used the word whole self, but that stuck out to me, that phrase. Like I thought, I think she is awesome because she brings her whole self. And I actually didn't tell you that, but that was part of why I was like, I've got to have her on Real Talk with me because, those things just really help, I think, and they help a connection with people that transcends others. And then I saw you do a video about being present and that philosophy. And so I would love for you to share that with us.
Yeah, it's so important. And I didn't realize when I started talking about it, like how it resonated so deeply with others, as I started talking about it out loud. And, but I just feel like when you're in a role as a mom, as a wife, as, deputy AD or whatever job title you have, like, and then it's hard. It's hard to be all things and to feel like you're not just average at all of it.
Yeah.
And so what I've recognized and kind of just come to peace with is that it may not be 10 hours of time that I have to give to somebody. It may be 15 minutes to my daughter or, 30 minutes with somebody else, but it's like, how can I be like my very best self? And that's to give all of me, right? That's the greatest gift we have is our full presence. And so, in an age where you're getting pulled in a million directions with your cell phone, with social media, with goodness, Zoom videos we just talked about, there's rarely time for like a break in your day. The best thing we can do is truly just give what we got in that moment and recognizing that it's just not going to be a ton of time. It may just be that time you have and being fully present. So it's really important to me. I would say I haven't perfected that yet, but I am very, very acutely aware of how important that is and how much you recognize others who aren't present. When you're having a conversation or you're on a video and looking at their phone or reading something, it's like, just doesn't feel great. Right. So let's just be present and for each other because that's, I don't know. I really, really, really believe in that, but it's hard. It's really hard. But if you think about it and you're aware of it, you can do better than we've been doing as kind of a society.
Absolutely. I mean, there is this element, we're human, so we're not perfect,
Yep.
right? I think I mentioned this to some people, like I have this theory about like perfectly imperfect. So I know I'm going to screw some things up, but it is so true that the Zoom, the video happens both ways. And sometimes people literally forget and you're like, I can see you on your phone.
I know. And you see all these boxes and you're just like, where is the energy, right? Like, are you with me or not? And when you're in person having coffee, you can kind of sense the energy. You can feel like they're totally with you. They're present. And I think the videos made it more challenging and probably made me more aware of how important being present is. And again, I'm not perfect at it. I still find myself getting lost in something else, but I really, if I could trust anything to anybody, it's just to step back and say, how can I be more present to the person I love, to my children, to the people I work with, my peers, my colleagues. I think it's everything.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it definitely came across because I was like, she's going to be stuck with me soon. So
I love it. I love it.
But being present, I'm sure has been such a part of leading through so much change and such a difficult time. So between the pandemic hitting to, people experiencing layoffs and their family members experiencing that to the incredible amount of social injustice that's gone on. And there's more attention being given to it. And so what's it been like to lead through that? And I'm, again, I think that presence probably has really helped that, but what do you think has been some of the things that's been so helpful to you?
So I feel like I had to step back and recognize that I don't know everything, which I didn't think I did before, but just that it was for me, I've done more listening. I feel like I called it like a listening tour, just listening and learning from others and recognizing that we're human and that there are others who I've worked with every single day. I go back to the George Floyd kind of this reckoning for our country and the people I've worked with for multiple years and never had a conversation about race, about color, about what it feels like to be a Black man, and somebody I absolutely adore and actually just having the conversation and listening. And we both knew that I didn't know, I've never walked his shoes, right? I don't know what it's like, but just to have that was like one conversation of many we've had. But for me, it was a moment to like just stop and like listen and with your whole heart. And yeah, it's about presence, but it's also about really asking questions and being curious about someone else's experiences and having empathy and compassion. And for me, it was such a moment. And I don't know, I think there's so much of us that felt that moment differently than others because there's been so much tragedy um, over the years. But that for me, this reckoning was a moment for our entire department to step back and say, what are we doing intentionally to have the conversations, to create the space for the conversation? And then when you create that space, are you actually leaning into it and listening with your whole heart, with your whole mind? And so for me, that's probably what I've done the most of is just listening and learning and understanding that nothing's going to get solved. There's no master plan. There's no strategy. There's nothing to put on paper like that's going to say, this is what's next. It's just actually saying, we don't even know. We're kind of in this mess of chaos. And let's just be okay with that, own it and live in it and listen and learn. And it's really, really helped my relationships. It's helped my employees to have those conversations. And let's park that and go pandemic and the issues with people just having anxiety about coming to work, about their health, about their safety, and just recognizing that and saying it's okay. And I guess just identifying with that was really important for me as I kind of, again, grew my relationships in this time and space to understand people better and give them that space to be scared and to, understand what they're going through. So I don't know. I just feel like it's been a time to like really deepen relationships with people that I've known for a long time, but I guess I feel like I haven't known until the past, 12 or 18 months, which has been awesome. I'm grateful.
Yeah. Sounds like what you're saying is that you took in a lot and you've grown through the process. And so by being present with other people during that, it was helpful, but also that probably helped your evolution in it. So you could be more informed,
Yep.
And I love when you talk about, your department, the company you work for being more intentional. So, and I think you talked about some meetings that you've had, but are there other things that you as an organization have done to, whether it's for the student athletes or for the fan base?
Yeah, it's really been inward looking. So we really focus on our student athletes, our coaches, and our staff to kind of, I think, and so for us, we've done some more educational programming where we've had speakers from our campus talk about race and society, where we've had people talk about diversity and equity from camp. But I feel like the most meaningful have been like when the conversation begins and when you can actually say, okay, what was that? Not just a programmer or speaker, but like, let's actually get into the dialogue and then unpack it and like talk about it. And I think if that making space for that, and it's not easy because I always think the first person who raises their hand and has the courage to talk is like the greatest gift because I'm like, wait, who's going to go first? Right. Is it going to be me or somebody else? But giving that moment of silence, but then someone does raise their hand and speak up and that courage to do it. And then having that dialogue is the richest, most meaningful, impactful thing for our organization to change. So it's just creating the time and the space and the safety to have the hard conversations.
Yeah. To have true dialogue rather than surface stuff. And so I think that's such a difference maker as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you're, looking ahead to this year again, you're dealing with your students who are athletes, your athletes who are students, right? I think sometimes we forget about that when we're thinking about collegiate athletes.
Yep.
You've got your staff, and you've got your whole other layers of fans and donors. And so, are there things that you can share with us, like looking ahead this year, things to expect, some different ways that you all are operating?
Oh, there's so much, right? Yeah, I mean, we're trying to get to a place where it's normal to have our Rutgers community, come together again. So I think for any organization, how do we get our community, which is for sports, it's getting our fans back to events, it's getting our donors back into a space where we can all be together, but it's reconnecting the community to be together, the social aspect of our world. That is what we're looking most forward to. But how do we do that safely?
Right.
How do we do that in a way that is meaningful, and how do we evolve, right? So what does the social experience look like at a game this year versus last year? And not that you have to reinvent the wheel, but you just have to think about, okay, what's going to make it better? And again, we always think about safety as a priority, just how do we do it safely? So I think for us, it's all about the game experience and making it as good as possible, evolving in the space. So for us, like getting really tactical, it's about like, how do we get everything mobile, right? Everything digital. I think in college sports, we're a little behind in terms of taking the, ripping the Band-Aid off and saying, we're just going for it, right? Everything else in the world is digital. So let's take our fans there. And we've used the
Yeah.
pandemic as an opportunity to kind of take them there with us and promote safety as one component of it, but also promote
Oh,
that this is kind of the easiest way for a fan to experience a game. You can,
yeah.
so that's getting really in the grain or in the granular for you. But those are the kind of things we're talking about, is just evolving our organization to meet the time and the need and do it in a safe way. So that's probably the biggest one. Then, our student athletes, they have been amazing. Like, they have just been like, they've persevered. They've just had this resilience about them. They've sacrificed so much to give us this joy of competition. So without many fans. So I look
Yeah.
forward to them getting back to some sense of normal, both in the classroom, so not having to do everything on video, and getting back this experiential learning in class with teachers and students in person, and then getting them back into a stadium with fans, because that's part of the fun of what they do. So that's also part of us reacclimating them to more normal. But yeah, I guess those are some of the components, but there's a lot to them we could unpack for hours. So a little bit we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't have you for hours. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and just for all you're doing, and for the example that you set is fantastic. I love it when people can really live live what they say and do it. So thank you. And I will let you go. But if people, you can check for Rutgers online with all the new digital offerings that you'll have. And you can reach Sarah through LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. So thanks
Thanks,
again.
Shauna.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Shauna. Appreciate it.